Welcome back. This is Mike, and today we are working on Law of Attraction Odyssey, episode 4. Title of this episode is going to be Knowing Yourself Through Your Creations. Knowing yourself through your creations. This is a really, really powerful idea I want to talk about as far as creating and the law of attraction, because knowing yourself through your creations is extremely powerful. And I want to talk about this because this is an idea from Paul Selig's fourth book, the Book of Mastery. And that book is all based in how to align consciously into your higher self's consciousness. And I want to talk about this in relation to the law of attraction because there's a very, very powerful idea in the book that it's similar to other ways the same thing has been described, but knowing yourself through your creations is basically what the law of attraction is. People do it unconsciously all the time. Even people that are beginning to wake up to their higher self. In a book like the Book of Mastery, book 4 in Paul Selig's books, it really helps you understand this unconscious pattern of knowing yourself through your creations. And so what do I mean by that? In the Book of Mastery, they talk about being in agreement with everything in your outer reality. And what that means is that this is actually, I think we talked about this in the last episode, of taking responsibility for your creations, where the things around you, you're in agreement with. If you weren't in agreement with them, they would not be around you. You would have removed them from your presence, or you would have just left. Like if you were in a living situation and you did not agree with it, you would say, to hell with this, and you'd leave, and you're not in agreement with it anymore. That's basically what it means to be in agreement with your creations. So taking responsibility for your creations, like we talked about in the recent episode, allows you to reclaim power from things that you have decided to know yourself through. And this is really powerful because knowing yourself through your creations is how we subjugate power away from our centeredness and ability to know ourselves as our higher self. Because doing that is where you knowing yourself through your creations means that you can't feel yourself as your higher self if you define yourself by the things around you. And this is what humanity is as a whole is extraordinarily proficient at has been for a long time, is defining ourselves by, you name it, the job, the ideas about ourselves, the past we've experienced, we define ourselves by, the others in our life that we feel like we can't live without. That's knowing yourself through your creations. And this is an extremely powerful, explosively powerful way to consciously align to your higher self, because I think this was one of the recent episodes where conscious creations are always brand new. And they're always brand new because our higher self is always existing in a state of being brand new. Because the higher self does not know itself through any creations other than what it is being known through as its creator. And that's another layer to this, which which is beautiful, and I want to talk about it in a minute. Because the higher self knows itself through its creations, and it wants to experience itself through its creations to experience a greater, more expansive sense of what am I? What can I be? What can I experience myself as? That in creating consciously from the higher self means that is creating from a space where you're always brand new. What's really troublesome in law of attraction is knowing yourself through a creation, say like a past creation that you created in a past more dense, fearful, unconscious vibration or alignment to your higher self. You created a creation there, and yet it persists in your current reality, which is now a greater vibrational higher self embodiment. And yet that old creation is still there, and the you that is more aligned to your higher self now is still knowing itself through that creation. And that sets up a really interesting idea where whenever you begin to embody your higher self and consciously co-create with law of attraction teachings by aligning to the will of your higher self, and not as just the small self trying to create things to feel complete, that becomes extremely powerful. Because when you know yourself through a old creation and it persists, whenever you embody your higher self in the moment, you can recreate your relationship with the old creation that you knew yourself through, and you can recreate it to a new way that you know yourself through in the moment. And what I mean by that is, say like if like where you live, if you feel like that was an old creation and it persists in your reality, if you align to your higher self, into the I am consciousness within you, that is right now. That does not know itself through any creation. It is a perfect holographic fractal of the one mind, the one heart, the one creator that dwells in all things. And so you can recreate your relationship with the lower density creations that are persisting by looking at the gift of them. What is it offering? How does your higher self want you to know yourself through this creation that persists in your reality? How can you see it as a gift? And I think it's important to understand in this part as well that we individually, we come here and experience these things because we want to transmute a chunk of the collective density of humanity. Like, we come here and we choose to activate our higher self's crystalline DNA and higher self embodiment, and that gives us the power to transmute our own little chunk of the collective consciousness of humanity. So when those old creations persist in your reality and you're wondering why that is, because you feel so powerful and brand new, but it seems like these old things are persisting and limiting you in your ability to keep becoming into a greater higher self-embodiment. You can recreate your relationship with them. And this is extremely powerful. I think this is what real law of attraction is meant to be. It's not trying to get something you want to be happy, but it's completely transforming what's already in your life and using it as a tool. And it's building up a faith within yourself that you can just absolutely feel that the things in your life that you want to change are not like curses or mistakes that you made that you need to fix because your vibration's low. They're the gifts that your higher self is bringing to you to know yourself through, so that you can help transmute the unconscious collective of humanity. And then you can, if you see them as a gift, you can see them brand new in every moment. There's an exercise in book 4 of Paul Selig's books, Book of Mastery, I was talking about, where you're guided to close your eyes, enter a higher resonance with your higher self, set an intention to see as your higher self. And when you do this, you open your eyes and you're able to, if you align to this and allow it and don't try so hard to make it happen, you can see everything around you, and like the room you're in, house or community, environment, whatever, you can see it through brand new eyes. You can see it as your higher self, because your higher self is always brand new. It can completely recreate your relationship with anything in your life. That's how powerful your higher self is. And that is what this video is about. It's oh my goodness, what was the title? The title was knowing yourself through your creations. So when you begin to know yourself as your higher self, you can know yourself through your creations in a much more conscious and responsible and compassionate and loving and grateful way, because they're not things wrong with you. They're gifts that you're able to consciously recreate by knowing yourself as your higher self. And that is law of attraction magic, white magic, to recreate the world into a place where all of humanity can be a collective of Christ consciousness manifest in form. That's where we're headed. And that's the power of knowing yourself through your creations consciously. So that is the incredibly powerful idea and technique and strategy of law of attraction, higher self-embodiment I wanted to talk about. But also, before video ends, I wanted to talk about this. So that's kind of a microcosmic sense of individual law of attraction, embodying your higher self, and as like a positive feedback loop. But in the macrocosmic, in the large scale of like how the prime creator, Father, Mother, God, creates Christ consciousness and then imbues it into all soul beings to travel through the physical universe. Knowing yourself through your creations is the intention of the creator. To know yourself through your creations. When you think of the creator as pure, uncreated, absolute consciousness, existing in a state of pure unity with itself and infinite potential to be anything. When it sets an intention to know itself, it has to create. And then its creative life force energy projects itself through the feminine principle of receptivity and ability to create, creative power. And then Christ consciousness is born as the child. But the point of this, was what I was trying to say, is knowing the creator knows itself through his creations. It expands its sense of what it is, who it is, and how it exists within itself by sending its spirit into its creation. So with free will, with consciousness, with ability to know, to explore, to choose to deny its own divinity if it so chooses, which is what humanity did. So knowing yourself through your creations consciously is our responsibility, because since we were created in the image of the Creator, then it follows that we get to know ourselves through our creations. However, since we separated ourselves from knowing that we are our higher self, which is the perfect template of how the Creator knows itself through creation as itself, as the ground, so that it can travel and experience itself within all the nuances of manifest experience, but always be grounded in its knowing that I am the light. I am. But then it's fascinating to think that knowing yourself through your creation, if you get ungrounded from the foundation of your higher self, how that creates just the endless realms of samsara, and getting lost in thinking that you are not your higher self, but you are these different creations, defining yourself by these different creations. And it's fascinating to think about that, where that's just like a divergent intention from knowing the self through creation, and getting a sense of distance from being one with the higher self through these creations, and getting lost in like I'm this, I'm that, I am poor, I am unhealthy, I am lost in relationships, I'm confused, don't know, I'm lost in the violence of the world, uncertainty of the world. But you can still know yourself through your creations consciously, because that is how you were created, in the image of the Creator. And so that is going to be just about all I had for this episode of what was this called again? The Law of Attraction Odyssey. Hopefully I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. And I hope that this video just shined a light on Law of Attraction and embodying your higher self as just like very natural, easy things to do, and not as things you have to struggle and try to figure out, but just to consciously know yourself through your creations, and feel that you are your higher self. You don't have to get lost in your creations and think you are your creations, or your past experiences, or your ideas about what's wrong with you. You can completely uproot all of that by declaring that you are your higher self, by declaring that you're here right now. I am here. I am my higher self. I am one with the Creator. I am an aspect of the Creator. And I am knowing myself through my creations as the teachers that are here to help me, so I can work with them consciously and transform who I am in the collective of humanity by embodying my higher self and transforming them. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Law of Attraction Odyssey. This has been Mike. Thank you for sharing your time with me and listening to this. And I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you. Goodbye.